So quite a while ago, I was contacted by writer-director Scott Goldberg, who wanted to send me his newest film, or at least I think he was just promoting it, and was like, eventually. And this is a while ago now. And he was like, this is called The Forest Hills, and he told me a bunch about it, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, fine, okay. And he sent me a screener for it a while later, and then immediately like retracted that, and was like, wait a minute, I'll send you a different one later. And then we finally got one. This has just been something that I've been emailed about quite a bit over time, and now I'm finally here. We're finally watching The Forest Hills. That has a whole mess of familiar faces in it. We have Edward Furlong. We have Felissa Rose. We have Stacey Nilkin, who I have not seen. You know, honestly, outside of Halloween 3, I'm not 100% positive I've ever seen her in anything else. I'd have to fact check that, of course. Maybe I have, and I'm just forgetting it off the top of my head. But I feel like, you know, Ellie Grimbridge is like the only character I've ever seen her play. Anyway, we also have the wonderful Felissa Rose in here, as well as, and this is the big thing, and this was the big deal they're making around this film, this is Shelley Duvall's return after many, many years away from making film. And so that's like really how they're selling this film, Shelley Duvall's return. So first things first, I want to say that pretty much every single name I just mentioned is in this movie for a few minutes each, or less. So don't get your hopes up that anyone's going to be in this very long. I would say Edward Furlong's in it the most, and then maybe Shelley Duvall from there. But our main character is not played by any of these people. He is a indie actor that I'm not familiar with. And this is about a mentally ill man who thinks he's a werewolf, or he thinks he's hunting a werewolf. Both. I think. I honestly don't know. That's really all I can say about the movie as far as a plot, because that's really all this is about. We just watch a guy who's losing his mind and is hunting a werewolf and trying not to become one himself, I think. Yeah, this is definitely... Okay, I'm going to be very kind here, because I know that this is super low budget, and this is like an indie project that was like a passion project for Scott and everything. So I will be kind, and I will try my best to like go with it in the way that maybe it was intended. This is a very chaotic and messy film.
Yeah.
That being said, our main character that we're following is chaotic and messy.
Yes.
So I do think it's intentional.
Yeah.
Does that come across as appealing to the viewer? No, it's not. But is that the intention? Maybe. Right? And then as far as the acting goes in this, whether good or bad, our main character, he brought it.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah, I
he
feel
gives
like
it 110%, whether it's terrible or amazing. Doesn't really matter. He is giving it 1,000% of his like energy. And,
totally.
You know,
totally.
You cannot say this guy phoned it in.
No.
He is chaotic and wild and at a fucking in a 13 at all times within the film. Did I particularly like this movie? No. But do I think that it's memorable because of how insane it is? Yes. But it is very low budget.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will watch this and be like, this is pure trash. But I think it might have its audience.
Oh, I definitely think it has an audience for sure.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't hate this movie at all. I didn't vibe with it. I was I think, you know, what you said about it being a chaotic film and that mirroring the main character's like mental state, I do think that that's intentional, but I found it very confusing and I had a really hard time following some of the like important plot elements of the film. So for me, that, you know, lowered my enjoyment of it, because I do like really surreal and like out there. Like I like when films get weird. I like when they get kind of like, especially, you know, and that mirroring of a mental illness, I think can be
the unreliable narrator.
Yeah, I think that can be really cool for sure. But I just think in this one it didn't work for me. I was confused. But you know, for the most part, like, I think that there's some pretty creepy imagery in this. Yes. We both were like, oh, that's creepy.
There's a mask in it that's very good.
Really
and I really wish they would have been utilized. In fact, I would have rather him made a slasher with that mask.
Yeah. And, you know, there's definitely, like, Shelley Duvall, when she's in this, I actually really loved the scenes that she's in.
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, what it was like with her on set or anything, but I think she did a really great job. I was actually really into her performance, and I was hoping that there was more of it, but she is only in it for, you know, a few scenes. So, you know, there's definitely some good things about the film for sure, and you can tell it's a passion project. Like, I don't think this is not a movie that it feels like, you know, sometimes we watch low budget films or, you know, whatever, and it feels, even bigger budget films, where it feels lazy, and we're like, what is this? Like, why did nobody think about it? Why did nobody care? I do not get that sense at all with this movie. Like, I think that the actors involved, and obviously the director and writer, who's the one person, care very deeply about the movie. And I think that shows. So I think that's always awesome whenever it comes across in, you know, art that people are making it from a place of passion. And I do think that that's really important. So, but I can totally see people finding this film and just kind of falling in love with it, with the indie vibe that it has, with the craziness, with all of that. And I think it could really work for a lot of people, but
I don't agree with that. I definitely don't think it can work for a lot of people.
Well, not not like huge audiences, but like a lot of people that are into this type of movie, I guess I should say.
If you're into like super low budget amateur filmmaking with some questionable performances from most people in the film, and you just want to see chaos and insanity and what I would kind of liken to Rob Zombie without a budget. And you've got a lot of like backwoods hillbilly type people, and they're just all nuts. Like, pretty much everyone in the film is nuts, and everyone who isn't like a main, like, big named actor outside of our lead, I feel like most of their performances are like as amateur as they get, and detracted from the film quite a bit. And I definitely think they go way too above and beyond in scenes where it's like, if we could just rein this in a bit, I don't think it would be as silly, because we did find her, like, I turned to you during this and was like, is this supposed to be funny?
There's definitely
right? Like, there's a dark comedy vibe to it
that have that dark comedy element for sure.
Yeah,
that I
but it's like supposed to be a tragedy.
Intentional at times, because I think, you know, anytime you deal with like insanity, I think it borders that. I think comedy and tragedy are very close, you know, in like emotion.
Sure.
So I do think that there are some times when it, maybe not intentionally, but it does come across kind of in a funny way, and not in like a, I mean, maybe in like a B-movie way, but there's one scene that I'm thinking of that's just like, I don't know how you could not find it kind of funny, but it is like messed up too, you know? So, I don't know, it was a very memorable watch, as you said. I think this is a really memorable film, and,
it's an interesting watch.
It's definitely, it was interesting.
I would say for the most part, unless, as I said, you are somebody who really, really likes seeing a bunch of familiar faces in kind of extended cameos, and like a chaotic film that's super messy, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you don't mind like super subpar amateur acting, and you're down to kind of just vibe with whatever this movie's throwing out right and left, then you're the audience. But
Yeah.
I think that's a super niche audience, and I think the most part, this is an absolute avoid. I'm not going to sugarcoat shit here. I don't.
Yeah.
I said I'll be kind, but I'm not going to be dishonest. Right? I think this is, for the most part, for my audience, which I know, our audience, this is definitely a no. I think most people will watch this and be like, this is fucking terrible.
I do think people are going to be checking it out.
I think it will have its audience. As I said, I think it's a small audience, but I think there is an audience for it. It's not something that's like I watch and I go, oh my God. I've watched movies where I'm like, no human could possibly enjoy this. And even then, there's probably someone out there.
Of course,
But no, it was cool seeing Shelley.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of people are going to want to check it out because of Shelley Duvall. And I do think that her part in this, I think she does a really good job. I liked her a lot.
Yeah, she's good. She sells like the hillbilly mom who's, I don't want to say anything because she's freaking only in it for a short amount of time. So literally anything would be a spoiler with her.
She does a good job at her role, though.
Edward Furlong is fine.
Yeah.
Dee Wallace is fine. Felissa Rose is always wonderful. And Stacey Nilkin is once again, she's fine. So, like, everyone's just, like, fine. But as I said, you're really here spending the lion's share of time with your main character. And he's the most entertaining thing. He is just very pure energy the entire film. So, as I said, it could honestly be a horrendous performance. It could be a great performance. I honestly don't care. I know which way I lean, but I don't care. Because I think it's so entertaining. And he's bringing so much energy to it that I'm just entertained by it. So I'm like, whatever. You know? I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than just sitting there and being bored. I was never bored during this film. I will give it that. I was never once bored. Boring. I was like in awe of it at a lot of the times.
Yeah,
for good or worse.
Wild it got, yeah.
I was just really kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
It feels like a fever dream.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it feels like.
Well, you're seeing the movie through our main character's psyche.
Which is what makes it so hard.
Why I'm saying that's like the tone of the film. Which is,
I think there's a lot of confusing things happening, which, it is through his eyes. So it makes sense, but I was lost on a lot of stuff. I was like, wait, did that happen? Did that not happen? Is this what's happening? What's going on? So it's very, like, discombobulating.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting experience watching a movie, Because even in a lot of movies where they're, like, dealing with mental illness or, like, a character is unwell and unreliable, there still is usually some, like, through line of, like, the audience can kind of cling to, so that they sort of know a little bit more than what the character does. I did not feel like I had that in this.
No, I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
The other thing, I think you just kind of keep coming back to the same thing, right? Over and over. It's just, this guy's fucking insane. That's just really the explanation for everything.
Yeah.
But, that being said, final point here is, good or bad, I can take something like, we've watched a few films in the last year or two that were like, had really high ratings from critics and were all technically good films with, like, great acting. And I was bored out of my mind.
They're, like, lifeless.
You'll Never Be Alone.
Yeah.
With Noomi Rapace. Like, technically, that movie is far superior to this.
Yeah.
It looks better. Noomi's amazing. Even though she's only in it for maybe like 30 minutes. Everyone in it is great. It's got great cinematography. It's like a very sound film.
Yeah.
Right? This was way more entertaining.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching this more. Even though that's technically better. But what does that even mean? So at the end of the day, was I entertained? Yes. Do I think it's a good movie? No. That's all I can say.
The honest answer.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
Yeah.
And kudos to our lead actor here for really
Yeah.
bringing it, man. When they hired him on, he was like, you know what, dude, I'm showing up and I'm going for broke, for better or worse. And I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I love him for it. So kudos to that guy for really giving it his all. That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for sending this to us.
you.
I don't know if that's the review you wanted, but we don't sugarcoat shit. Yeah. Anyway.